She studied for weeks, showed her work, and still got called a cheater. The real twist: she wasn't the only one who scored high, but she was the only one singled out. Janelle Carter had always been the kind of kid who sat up straight, finished her homework early, and whispered, "Ah, thank you," when someone handed her a pencil. 13, quiet, and always thinking 10 steps ahead. Her favorite sound? A fresh sheet of notebook paper sliding across her desk. Her least favorite? People underestimating her. That Tuesday morning at Bayview Middle School in Modesto, California, the air in room 214 felt heavier than usual. It was the day of the final algebra test, and everyone knew it. Heads were down, pencils tapping nervously. The occasional cough broke the silence. The test had been the talk of the school for days. Mr. Douglas Whitmore, the math teacher with a sharp jaw and even sharper tongue, had a reputation. No one aced his tests on the first try. But Janelle came prepared. She'd spent the last 3 weeks going over every formula, every theorem, and every single question from the review packet with her mom, an ex-teacher who now worked full-time at a community center. Erica Carter didn't play around when it came to education. 30 minutes in, Janelle's pencil stopped moving. She checked her answers once, twice, then slid the test forward with quiet confidence. "Finished already?" Mr. Whitmore glanced up from his desk. His tone was too loud for the room. Janelle gave a small nod. He stood up, walked over, and took the test from her desk like it was a counterfeit bill. He looked at the front, flipped through the pages. His eyes didn't blink. "Janelle, stay after class," he said flatly. Whispers started to build behind her. The sound of pencil scratching faded, replaced by sideways glances and subtle smirks. She sat frozen in her seat, staring at the corner of her desk, wondering what she'd done wrong. The bell rang. Everyone got up, stretching and stuffing their bags. Janelle stayed. Mr. Whitmore closed the door. He pulled a chair up across from her. "I'm going to be very direct," he said, arms folded. "These answers are too good, too exact. You didn't do this on your own." She blinked. "Excuse me? I've taught this material for 15 years. Not a single student has ever scored 100% on this particular test. Not without help. But I studied." "Don't lie, Janelle." Her mouth dropped open, but no sound came out. Her chest tightened. "I'm required to report any suspected cheating to administration," he continued. "Matter of fact, you'll be hearing from the assistant principal soon." Janelle sat there, stunned. Her hands gripped the sides of the chair. "But I didn't cheat. I swear I didn't." Mr. Whitmore stood. "If you didn't, then you have nothing to worry about." His words stung worse than the accusation itself. She didn't even know how to leave the room. She walked out slowly, the hallway seeming 10 miles longer than usual. By lunchtime, the story had made its way around the cafeteria. She got caught cheating. "No way, Janelle. She had the answers early or something. I heard she copied from Mr. Whitmore's old tests." Janelle sat by herself in the far corner. No appetite, no words, just questions. Why me? But across town, at a quiet desk inside a crowded office, her mom was about to open an email that would change everything. Erica Wilson clicked open the email without thinking twice. Subject line: "Concern regarding Janelle's test." She scanned the message once, then again, her eyebrows pulled together. "Dear Miss Wilson, it has come to our attention that Janelle may have violated the academic integrity policy during this week's algebra assessment. We are currently reviewing the matter and will be in touch for a conference. No details, no proof, just a vague accusation, written like a final decision. Erica stood up. She didn't need coffee anymore. Her phone buzzed. It was Janelle calling between classes, something she never did. "Mama?" The voice was small. "I got the email," Erica said quietly. "Tell me what happened." Janelle tried to explain, but the words came out shaky and uneven. "I didn't cheat. I swear. He looked at it and said it was too good, that's it." Erica's tone dropped into that place Janelle knew well, calm but sharp, like a knife laid flat. "Did you use your phone, notes, anything?" "No, Mama. You watched me do those practice tests every night." "I know." Erica looked out the window, tapping her finger against the frame. "We're not letting this slide." Meanwhile, back at school, Janelle's day was unraveling. She'd never felt people look at her this way before, not with curiosity, but with that quiet judgment, like they'd made up their minds already. She overheard two girls near the lockers, whispering, "She just wants to look smart. She ain't even that good at math." Yeah, and Mr. Whitmore is no joke. If he says she cheated, she cheated. She turned a corner and bumped into Malik, a boy from her science class who normally shared jokes with her. "Oh, hey," he said, his voice a little too stiff. "You good?" "Yeah," she said. "Why?" He looked at her like he didn't know what to say. "I just heard stuff." She walked away. That said enough. The only place that still felt normal was her last class of the day, language arts. Her teacher, Miss Brewster, smiled and welcomed her in. Didn't flinch, didn't blink, just, "Hey, Janelle," like nothing had changed. But even then, the eyes of a few classmates lingered a bit longer than usual. That night, Erica pulled out a thick manila folder from her kitchen cabinet. She laid it flat on the table and started sorting through it. Practice tests, notes, quiz results, tutoring logs she'd kept like receipts. Janelle sat across from her. "Why are you keeping all this?" "Because I know how this world works," Erica said. "Some people don't give you the benefit of the doubt. They look at you and their mind is already made up. So you keep your proof. You build your case before they build theirs." "But he's the teacher. They'll believe him." Erica paused, then leaned in. "They might, but I don't care if he's been teaching 30 years or 30 minutes. He's not going to throw dirt on your name because your answers were too right." She flipped the folder shut. "We're going to the school tomorrow. You let me do the talking." But the next morning, they weren't the only ones heading to that school with something to say. The front office at Bayview Middle smelled faintly of old carpet and coffee. Erica walked in with Janelle right behind her, that manila folder clutched like a briefcase in her left hand. She didn't wait to be greeted. "I'm here to speak with Principal Dalton or whoever's in charge of this nonsense about my daughter cheating." The secretary blinked twice, then typed something into her computer. "One moment, ma'am." Erica gave a tight nod. "Not ma'am. Miss Wilson?" Within minutes, they were called into a small conference room. Inside sat Mr. Whitmore, arms crossed, eyes cool. Next to him was Ms. Valenzuela, the assistant principal. She smiled politely, but Erica could see the tension behind it. "Miss Wilson," she began, "thank you for coming. We just want to talk through some of the concerns." "I'm not here for vague concerns," Erica cut in. "I want specifics, because accusing a student of cheating is a big deal, especially when there's no proof." Mr. Whitmore finally spoke. "Miss Wilson, your daughter turned in a test with every answer correct. Not a single mistake. That's unusual." "She studied," Erica said plainly. With me every night. Want timestamps? I got screenshots. Want her old quizzes? They're in this folder. She slid it across the table. He didn't even open it. It's not just the score, he continued. It's how she answered. She used a method I only taught once months ago. Not many students remembered it. Janelle finally spoke up, her voice soft but clear. You taught it in November. I remember because it was the week before Thanksgiving break. You called it the cleaner way to solve slope-intercept problems. There was a pause. Mr. Whitmore didn't reply. Miss Valenzuela tried to bridge the silence. We appreciate you coming in with this documentation. Of course, no decision has been made. But a judgment already has, Erica cut in. You called it cheating without checking anything, without talking to us first. You're treating her like a problem because she knew the answers. She looked at Mr. Whitmore. Is it that hard to believe a black girl can be brilliant without it being suspicious? The room went still. Mr. Whitmore shifted in his seat but said nothing. Miss Valenzuela exhaled slowly. We will take all of this into consideration. Thank you for bringing it in. We'll contact you by the end of the week. Erica stood. You do that? Janelle followed her out quiet, but her steps felt steadier. As they reached the parking lot, Erica turned to her. You okay? I don't know, Janelle whispered. Well, Erica said, opening the car door, you will be. That afternoon, word spread that Janelle's mom had come to the school. Some students whispered that she'd gone off. Others said she'd brought lawyers. None of it was true, but it didn't matter. Even some teachers started paying attention now. Miss Brewster caught Janelle after class and gently said, If you need anything, I'm here. Mr. Cohen, her science teacher, asked, You hanging in there? For the first time all week, someone believed her without needing a folder full of proof. But the school wasn't just waiting until the end of the week. Someone else had already started digging through the numbers. The next morning, tucked in a cramped office near the teacher's lounge, a woman named Stephanie Holt tapped her pen against her keyboard. She was the school's data specialist, unseen by most students, unknown by most parents, and completely unaffected by hallway gossip. But Stephanie had heard the whispers, and she didn't like the way they sounded. She'd been asked quietly by Ms. Valenzuela to pull the scores from the algebra test across all 3 8th-grade math sections just to check for anomalies. No one told her exactly what they were looking for, but she already had a hunch. She opened up the test records, looked at Janelle Wilson's, scored 100%. Then she looked at Isaiah Dorsey, 96%, Layla Reyes, 98%, Hannah Lynn, 100%. Stephanie scrolled through 10 more. 7 students scored 90 or above. It wasn't strange. What was strange was that only one name had been flagged for cheating. She opened a second window and compared the questions Janelle got right to everyone else's. Then she looked at the methods students used. Sure, Janelle used that less common, cleaner method, but so did 2 other students. Not just that, but she showed every single step. No signs of copying, no patterns of duplication, no clues of dishonesty. Stephanie leaned back and stared at the screen. So why was only her name on the table? She pulled up her Outlook and started typing. Subject: Algebra test score review discrepancy. Noted to Principal Dalton, AP Valenzuela, C District Academic Integrity Officer Body. After reviewing the algebra test data, I found that multiple students scored within the same range and used similar problem-solving methods as Janelle Wilson. No statistical anomalies are present that justify singling out one student for potential misconduct. Recommend clearing the accusation and following up with all staff regarding equitable evaluation practices. Stephanie Holt clicked send. Meanwhile, Janelle sat in the back of the school library during study hall, her head down, her pencil barely moving. She couldn't focus, couldn't eat, couldn't stop hearing her classmates' voices in her head. She checked her phone under the table. A message from her mom. "Hang in there. I'm proud of you no matter what." That helped a little. Back in room 214, Mr. Whitmore sat at his desk during his planning period, staring at Janelle's test again. Her handwriting was neat. Her steps were clear. No smudges, no side glances from other students had been reported. But he couldn't shake the feeling that he'd missed something. Or maybe added something that wasn't there. He looked at the stack of other tests on his left, flipped open one. 96% messy work. Right answers, not a problem. Flipped another 89% clear. Steps. Different method. He pulled out Hannah Lynn's 100%, used the same shortcut Janelle had used, and he hadn't said a word about it. He leaned back in his chair, his throat dry. Was this about more than just the test? Just then, a knock came at his door. Ms. Valenzuela stepped in with a folded printout. "Got a minute?" He nodded. She sat down, unfolded the sheet, and laid it in front of him. Stephanie's email. He read it once, then again. "She's clean," Valenzuela said quietly. "And we owe her an apology." He didn't answer right away. "Doug," she added more firmly, "this can't just disappear." He nodded once, the kind of nod people give when they've run out of excuses. But apologies don't erase damage. And by the next morning, Janelle's name would be called over the intercom. "Janelle Wilson, please report to the main office." Her name echoed through the school just before second period. Every head turned. A few whispers started again. Janelle looked up from her open binder, eyes wide. She slowly stood, closed her books, and walked out. No one said a word as she passed. She had no idea what was waiting for her. In the front office, Ms. Valenzuela stood by the counter with a look that was softer than before. Her voice was lower, too. "Hi, Janelle. Can you come with me for a second?" She followed her into Principal Dalton's office. He was standing behind his desk. Mr. Whitmore was seated in one of the chairs. A paper rested on his lap. He didn't look up right away. "Have a seat," the principal said. Janelle sat stiffly in the empty chair across from him. "We've reviewed everything," he started. "Your test, your previous scores, your mother's documentation, and an independent report from our data specialist." Janelle's heartbeat quickened. "You did nothing wrong," he continued. "Your test was completely valid. You're a strong student, and your answers were your own." There was a pause. Mr. Whitmore cleared his throat and finally looked up. "Janelle, I want to apologize." The room felt tight. She looked at him, unsure what to say. "I made an assumption based on how quickly you finished the test, how precise your answers were, and I was wrong." He exhaled. "I let my own expectations cloud my judgment." Her hands were clasped in her lap. She didn't know whether to cry, nod, or speak, so she did none of those things. Principal Dalton leaned in. "We're going to clear this from your record. It won't follow you in any way." Janelle nodded slowly. "You're welcome to return to class," Valenzuela added. Janelle stood up. But before she left, she turned back and asked, "Is anyone going to say anything to the other students?" Dalton paused. "We hadn't planned on it, but we can talk about how to address it." Janelle just looked at him, then walked out. She wasn't angry. Not yet. but the silence felt like another punishment. At lunch, she sat at her usual table alone. This time, she didn't even open her tray. She just watched. A few classmates looked over. No one spoke. Finally, Hannah Lynn came over and sat down. "Hey," she said. "That was messed up. What he did?" Janelle looked at her. "You used the same method I did." "I know," Hannah said. "I got 100, too." Janelle blinked. "He didn't say anything to you?" Hannah shook her head. "Not even a good job." Janelle looked down at her tray. "It's not fair," Hannah added. "No, it's not." Later that day, during 6th period, Miss Brewster handed back an essay and slipped a note underneath. "You handled this week with more grace than most adults I know. Never let anyone dim your light." For the first time in days, Janelle smiled. And that night, Erica got a call from Principal Dalton. "I wanted to let you know what steps we're taking," he explained. "We're going to send a letter home to parents outlining a commitment to fairness and bias training for staff. We'll be holding a student forum, too." Erica didn't gush or say thank you. She just said, "Good. Keep going." But in the days that followed, something happened that no one expected. Other students started coming forward. It started with a single email, then 2 more. Then a handwritten note slid under the door of Ms. Valenzuela's office, signed only with initials. In the days following Janelle's vindication, the silence that had once protected Mr. Whitmore's authority began to crack. Quietly, then steadily, students who had once whispered in hallways started speaking up. Isaiah Dorsey asked to meet with Ms. Valenzuela during lunch. "I didn't think about it before," he admitted, "but yeah, I scored a 96. Used the same method Janelle did. He told me, 'Nice job.' That's it. Did he ever question your score?" Isaiah shook his head. "Not once." Then Layla Reyes said something similar. So did Andrew Burns. One by one, students began sharing that they'd used that exact shortcut Mr. Whitmore called too advanced, that they'd scored high, that none of them, not one, had been accused of cheating. Only Janelle. Miss Valenzuela wrote everything down. Dates, names, statements. She didn't say it out loud, but she didn't have to. A pattern was beginning to form, and it didn't look good. Back in class, Janelle kept her head down, answering questions when asked, but keeping her voice flat. She wasn't cold, just tired, worn thin from carrying something too heavy for too long. But during 3rd period on Thursday, something happened. Mr. Whitmore handed out a pop quiz. Groans filled the room. He paused at Janelle's desk for a second. She looked up. Their eyes met. And for once, his didn't hold that distant suspicion. Just something else. Maybe guilt. Maybe awareness. After the quiz, as students turned in their papers, one kid in the back raised his hand. Not Janelle, not Isaiah. It was Darnell Hart, a kid who barely passed anything and usually kept to himself. "Yo, Mr. Whitmore," he said, loud enough for the class to hear. "Just want to make sure you don't think I cheated if I actually do good today." Some kids laughed, a few didn't. Mr. Whitmore didn't respond, but the moment hung there. After class, as Janelle packed up, Hannah approached again. "You okay?" Janelle shrugged. "Getting there?" "They're talking about having a forum," Hannah said, "for students to share stuff about fairness, bias, that kind of thing." "You going?" Hannah hesitated. "Yeah, are you?" Janelle didn't answer right away. "I might." That night, Erica sat at the kitchen table with her laptop, reading over the school's new email to parents. It was decent, said the right things, used all the right words, reflection, accountability, improvement, training. But what mattered more was what happened next. So when Janelle came downstairs, Erica closed the laptop. "You don't have to go to that forum if you don't want to," she said. "No one gets to force you to share your pain." Janelle stood still. "What if I want to?" Erica looked up. "Then you do it, and you do it your way. Because speaking up was never the hard part. It was knowing whether people were finally ready to listen." The multi-purpose room didn't look like much. Just folding chairs, a microphone stand, a half-hearted banner above the whiteboard that read, "Let's Talk, Voices of Bayview." But it was full. More students than anyone expected. Teachers, too. Parents. Even Mr. Dalton looked surprised by the turnout. Janelle sat in the middle row, her hoodie pulled over her head. Erica was 3 seats down, close enough to step in if needed, but far enough to let her daughter own this moment. Ms. Valenzuela welcomed everyone, her voice steady. "This is an open forum. There are no wrong words here. No punishments, just the truth. You may speak or you may simply listen. This is your space." The first person up was Hannah. She cleared her throat and looked right at the microphone. "I scored a 100 on that test, too," she said. "Used the same method Janelle did. No one questioned me. No one called me a cheater." Her words landed like a slap, not loud but sharp. She walked back to her seat. No one clapped. No one needed to. Isaiah went next. Same story. "I thought it was a coincidence, but it wasn't." Then came Isla. Then Andrew. And then silence. The kind that fills a room when everyone is waiting for the same person to stand up. Janelle pulled her hoodie down and walked up slowly. She didn't look at the crowd, just stared at the mic for a second. "I didn't want to come up here," she said. "I didn't want to tell this story. I just wanted to take a test, get my grade, and go home." A few students nodded. But when someone says you cheated because you did too well, that's not about math. That's about what they expect from you. She looked up now, straight ahead. "I knew the answers. I studied. I worked hard. But instead of believing that, I got accused. And I sat in a room while people talked about me like I wasn't even in it." She glanced over at Mr. Whitmore, who was sitting stiff in the back row, his jaw clenched. "I don't want revenge," she said, "but I want people to admit when they're wrong. I want teachers to check their own thinking before they try to correct ours." The room was silent again. This time it wasn't heavy. It was listening. When Janelle stepped down, Erica stood, not to speak, but to wrap her arm gently around her daughter's shoulder as she returned to her seat. The forum went on another 30 minutes. A few more students spoke. One teacher even stood and admitted, "I've overlooked students before. I don't always catch it, but I know I've done it." And finally, after what felt like an eternity, Mr. Whitmore stood. He walked to the front slowly, cleared his throat. "I'm not good at this," he started. "I've always thought of myself as fair, as neutral. But the truth is, I'm not." He looked at Janelle. "I saw a perfect test and assumed it had to be dishonest. But I didn't ask questions. I made a decision based on a feeling, one I didn't stop to examine. And I'm sorry." He took a breath. "To Janelle, to her family, and to every student who's ever been doubted for the wrong reasons." It wasn't a grand apology, but it was real and raw. That night, when they got home, Janelle sat at the kitchen table and opened her math notebook again for the first time all week. "You sure you want to keep studying math after all that?" Erica asked, only half kidding. Janelle cracked the tiniest smile. Yeah, I think I do. Because truth, when spoken out loud, has a way of making space where there used to be silence. The following week felt different. Not perfect, not fixed, just different. Mr. Whitmore still taught algebra in room 214, but now he paused more often, listened longer, asked questions before forming opinions. He still had his edge, but something in him had softened. Ms. Valenzuela organized a monthly student roundtable where anyone could speak without needing a hall pass or a headline. A few teachers volunteered to attend, not out of guilt, but out of responsibility. And Janelle, she walked the halls with her head higher. The whispers had faded, the stares stopped, but more importantly, she stopped carrying the weight of their doubt. She earned every point on that test, and now, finally, everyone knew it. During a quiet Saturday afternoon, Erica sat on the porch with Janelle sipping her coffee while her daughter worked on new math problems just for fun. You know, Erica said, there's a lesson in all this, a hard one. Janelle looked up. Yeah. Erica leaned back. People will doubt you, sometimes for the way you think, sometimes for the way you look. But how you respond, that's where your power lives. Janelle nodded slowly. And you didn't just respond, Erica added. You stood up. You told your truth, and you made people listen. That's real strength. Janelle looked down at her notebook, then back up. Do you think things will actually change? Erica didn't lie. Not overnight, but you pushed the door open. Now it's on them to keep walking through. That night, Janelle opened a blank page in her notebook and wrote 3 words across the top. Know your worth. Because no one else gets to define it for you. If you've ever been doubted, overlooked, or silenced, don't carry that weight alone. Speak up. Document your truth. Ask questions. And if you see someone else being pushed down, be the one who helps them stand back up. Share this story with someone who needs to remember that being brilliant is not a crime, and never let anyone make you feel otherwise.